Hi, this is Jay, and you're listening to the first episode of Jay Outdoors. In this video, we'll be taking a brief look at the new Pulsar Trail LRF XP50 Thermal Weapon Sight. It was just released at SHOT Show 2018. This is a test slash evaluation unit received from Pulsar. Just a quick disclaimer, I'm a member of Pulsar Pro staff, but any and all opinions given in this video are my own. Just kind of wanted to share this weapon sight with you folks. I think it's pretty cool. So this is how the sight was received. It comes in a nice, pretty durable case, some kind of plasticized nylon, pretty standard stuff, but it does feel pretty durable. Upon unzipping the case, you can check out its contents here. So you have the main unit, of course. You can see the LRF laser range finding module right there on the side. You see your standard wall charger. You have your rail mount, remote control, battery charging unit, your battery, micro USB cable, as well as associated mounting hardware and Allen wrench hex keys for installing the mount onto the sight and subsequently on your weapon. First, let's take a look at the main unit. So, for those of you aware and that are knowledgeable in Pulsar's thermal sights, this is part of their flagship XP line. The XP series contains a 17 micrometer pixel pitch, or that's the size of the pixels on the thermal sensor, and those pixels are arranged on a 640 by 480 pixel array resolution. This unit in particular, being an XP50 model, possesses a 50 millimeter objective lens. In addition to the thermal specifications, Pulsar's weapon sights are somewhat unique in that they offer onboard recording with audio. In addition, to store that data on the sight, there's an integrated 8 gigabyte internal memory. The memory is non-removable. The unit is Wi-Fi capable. It does form its own Wi-Fi network in which you can connect your smartphone or tablet or other Wi-Fi enabled device. The Wi-Fi connection serves to facilitate updates to the site, downloading your photos and videos, as well as streaming content from the site directly to your device. So, what really sets this apart from previous XP units is, of course, the laser range finding module, or the LRF. The laser range finding module possesses a ranging capability of approximately 1,000 meters, and the accuracy is approximately plus or minus 1 meter. The sight is rated for a 6,000 joule recoil energy. So when pairing the sight to a weapon, that's some of the info you need to remain cognizant of the proper recoil rating. Speaking to the unit's durability, one thing you'll notice when you hold the sight and you kind of have it in your hands is that it seems to be fairly well made. It just kind of exudes that feeling of confidence with the sum of its parts. As far as specifications go relative to that durability, it is IPX7 water resistant. So what that means is that the sight and associated electronics can be submerged to up to 1 meter without damage to the sight. So let's go over some of the parts of the sight one by one. Starting with the objective end, the Pulsar sights have this pretty cool integrated lens cap. The lens cap is removable, just kind of have to twist and pull it off. Something I really like about the lens cap, it has handles at the top and the bottom. It's easy to flip open, and when it does flip open, you can rotate it all the way to the rear or aft of the sight, and then click it in place like that, and thus the lens cap is out of the way and it's really unobtrusive during operation. Another thing that's really cool about the Pulsar trail line of sights and this XP unit is that when you have to calibrate the thermal sight, which is a required operation with any thermal sight, the calibration is called nuking, or a non-uniformity calibration. And the really cool thing about the Pulsar sight is that it has an internal shutter. You'll notice that some thermal weapon sights, whenever you nuke it, you have to take the cap, close the cap, hit the nuke button, etc. Not with Pulsar. It's pretty cool. You're in the field, your lens cap is open, conditions are changing, and if you're on semi-automatic nuke, in which the sight is not going to automatically nuke for you and you want to nuke, you can hit the power button, nuke the sight, wait a couple seconds, and you're good to go. Moving aft along the main unit body, you can see that this sight is actually equipped with a focus knob. That's a feature that I really like as well. You'll notice some thermal sights are not equipped with focus knobs. Some are kind of focused to infinity, and it's kind of up to the user with low magnification just to view through the sight without adjusting focus. I have noticed in my short use of this unit over the past couple of days that the focus is definitely a welcome feature. Moving further aft on the sight, further rearward, first you have your up button. Your up button is like all of these buttons, is kind of a multiple functionality button. So if you hold it down, you can switch from white hot to black hot, in which objects with higher heat output or thermal radiation glow the respective colors. Because this is a multifunction button, it also operates the laser range-finding unit. A quick tap will enable that unit, and you can adjust different parameters of the LRF unit in the menu functions. This, of course, M for menu, and long and short presses operate different menu functions. The down button will allow you to zoom and also activate the picture-in-picture function, in which you have a standard optical image in your main viewfinder, and then your window up top center is a picture-in-picture, so that you can zoom in on your target while also maintaining your large field of view for target acquisition purposes. This last button on the top of the sight right here is the recording button. Like the other buttons, this button is a multiple functionality button, and the kind of cool thing about it is that you can determine the current selected functionality with an icon that's present in the top left-hand corner of the viewfinder. So typically you will see a camera icon in the top left, indicating that the recording is in photo mode, and it will show you an approximate counter on how much storage space you have left to store photos in the internal 8 GB memory. As you can imagine, with a 640 by 480 pixel resolution photograph, you can store quite a lot of photos on the internal memory. And I should also say that even with the video recording, you don't really have to have a fear that you're going to run out of internal storage. So as far as the multifunctionality goes, when you hold this button down, that's where you can toggle its functionality. So you hold it down, you can switch to video mode, and the icon in the top left hand corner of the screen will change to a video camera. And then you can tap that button to record video, and you can momentary press it or long press it to either pause the video recording, continue the video recording, or start a new recording file. Now, a really cool tertiary feature of this button is not typical video recording, but recoil activated video recording. The recoil activated video recording is pretty cool. So when that functionality of this button is selected and you fire a shot, the sight with its internal sensors will detect the recoil energy, and then it will rely on an internal memory buffer as a pre-trigger. So it will capture a certain amount of time prior to the shot and then a preset amount of time after the shot, so that you are essentially capturing the whole moment of that key shot to later download, review, share, whatever. So that is a really, it's a really cool functionality. It's a really easy to find button on the site, as are all of the buttons on the top of the site. They really have these kind of recessed areas and very tactile kind of ridges for your fingers to find in the dark. And as you'll see a little bit later when we go over the battery, this site includes internal recording. So if you're looking at a lot of different electronic scopes in the market, you'll notice not all of them do that. So rather than having to carry a separate DVR unit hooked up to this site around in the field, you can just rely on the internal memory, internal recording functionality, and it's kind of all in one package. So it's really great for weight savings and definitely relieving the cumbersome nature of your kit if you are taking your rifle out in the field a lot. So moving even further back on the site, you have the diopter. So this diopter is another focus adjustment, but for the eyepiece. And this allows folks with different either prescription glasses, different eyesight, and different ocular focus to adjust the sight clockwise or counterclockwise. This is kind of standard, just like you would see on a rifle scope, like an optical scope. So again, a very neat feature. Okay, the last piece, moving all the way to the rear of the sight, is the eye cup. You may have seen these eye cups on other thermal sights. There are many ways to do this. Pulsar has chosen to do a rubberized membrane, but I really like the attention to detail of what they offer on this eyepiece. So if you notice, if you look real close here, you see these little holes? These holes are offset 90 degrees all around the circumference of the eye cup. And what that does is when you create a pretty good seal of the eyepiece on your face and you compress the membrane, air can escape pretty easily from that. And when you release it, you forego the suction that could happen by letting the pressure relieve through those holes instead of around the eyepiece interface with your face. So that's pretty cool. The eyepiece is rotatable, so what you can do is, I have this set up right now for me, I'm right eye dominant. So what I do is I have it to my right, but if I wanted to, I could rotate around like that and use it on my left eye. So this thing's also removable, like so. So you can see your ocular lens right there, and this is just a rubber eyepiece, and it's definitely user replaceable. It's pretty easy rubber. It's notched right here, and then it fits in this notch right here. So to reinstall, you simply pull it over the eyepiece. Boom. It's good to go. So moving to the left side of the weapon sight, you have the micro USB connector. So this sight uses micro USB, not USB-C, not mini USB, but micro USB. The cap is rubberized, and opening it, you can see the micro USB port. One thing that you will notice, and I thought this was a really cool little detail, especially for something you may be fumbling around with in the dark, is that the port shape, not necessarily the electronic port, but the plastic housing around the port is keyed. So you see a concavity here and a straight edge down there. So what that's going to do is that's going to prevent you from putting the micro USB cable in the wrong way. So if this was USB-C, it wouldn't matter, right? You could just flip it around. But as it were, a micro USB connector is sensitive to the orientation, and so rather than go with a different standard, they've gone ahead and keyed their connector. So I thought that was pretty cool. On the right side of the sight, there's some pretty cool features too. Like I said, you have the power button right here. So you press and hold it down to turn on the unit. It's pretty self-explanatory. But a really cool feature is, let's say you're using the sight, you're at night, you don't want to boot it up. Although it only takes a few seconds to boot up, sometimes you just want to put it to sleep. Maybe because you want to save some battery power, or maybe you want to make your display dark so you don't alert anyone in your surroundings. So if you just tap the button, what that does is it activates the display off functionality. You will get a dimmed display off icon in the viewfinder, and then the display will be off, and then a momentary press of the button again will turn it on exactly how you had it before, just like the display went to sleep. So I thought that was a pretty cool feature. So on the same side, moving up toward the front of the unit, you see this complex looking cam system. I think this is really sharp. This is a really slick piece of engineering here. I really admire the way they did this. So what's really cool is you got this cam lever, right? Notice these two cams that ride adjacent to the electrical connector. So that's your electrical connector for your battery. It's pretty cool, right? So you take this this cam lever, you lift it up, and those two cam slots rotate. You insert your battery in, boom, it's locked in place and not going anywhere. So I thought that was pretty neat. So moving to the underside of the unit, you have your integrated rail. Okay, so this is actually a solid molded piece that is integrated into the body of the weapon sight. And inside this piece, so inside the sight body itself, you have the female tapped fittings for your screws that affix the sight to the mount. Okay, so you have 4 of them there. Right adjacent to this mounting piece is your microphone. Unfortunately, this is a testing unit, so the firmware on this sight doesn't have sound enabled, but all of the commercially available units of the Pulsar series do have audio enabled now in the firmware, and that will be coming, of course, when this is released to the public. So the piece that really differentiates this from the regular XP units is, of course, the laser rangefinder. So if you recall, if you're familiar with Pulsar's other products, on the left side of the unit, on the non-LRF sights, you have this heat sink, right? Or at least you have a vent for the heat sink. So with all these thermal imagers, they need to stay cool, right? They need to stay cool so that they can properly work in the environment. So usually when you have a thermal that's turned on for a while, you'll start to kind of feel warmth around the vent. Well, Pulsar slapped this LRF module right where that vent was. But one thing that's really cool, and it's kind of a unforeseen benefit, I guess at least it was to me, was that the LRF module is constructed of some kind of lightweight aluminum or other metallic alloy. So not only does this LRF sight or LRF module on the sight not really affect the balance of the unit, but it actually acts like its own heat sink. So when you do have the unit on for a little while, you do notice it getting warm. Of course, not uncomfortably so, but you can see that it is doing its job as a heat sink. So I thought that was pretty slick. So now let's take a look at the battery. So this is the standard 8-hour battery unit that comes with the Pulsar sights. The battery is pretty cool. It's a rubberized sort of plastic body, standard lithium ion battery. It does have this rubberized cover to protect the contacts and the cams, or the cam lugs as it were. So I thought that was pretty cool. Comes with a little cover, you know, if you have spare batteries in the field, you know, you want to put them on the battery to keep dirt and dust and water out of the electrical contacts. That's pretty sweet, right? So let me kind of walk you through how easy it is to install this battery on a sight. So again, like I showed you earlier, you lift up the cam, boom. Now your cam is ready to accept the lugs on the battery. Logo up, insert in sight, boom, and you're locked in, you're good to go. One thing I really like about the sight with the battery installed is it's still pretty well balanced. It does have this LRF module on the side, but I'm telling you, it really doesn't add that much weight at all. I really can't even tell it's there. So that's pretty cool. I like how this standard battery is flush with the right side of the sight. Now you can order larger capacity batteries. And one thing that should be said about Pulsar batteries, and this is something that I feel is a really important factor, is these batteries last a while. I can't tell you how many guys are out there using thermal sights at night, and they're getting external battery packs hanging off their stocks. They're changing out some rechargeables. That that they have some alkaline batteries they're using, and they're only lasting a couple hours. Whereas you're going 8 hours with this thing, and from all accounts, from all user experiences that you can find, the battery life is just as good or better than advertised. Similarly, you add the higher capacity battery, yeah, it's going to stick out a little more, but then you're going all night for sure, even with heavy use. So that's a really cool feature. The batteries are rechargeable, replaceable, and they actually last a long time. One thing I just wanted to touch on real quick, and in a future video I'll kind of give you an idea and show you the actual functionality, but I wanted to address some of the benefits of the laser rangefinder attachment here that's on the XP50. So all Pulsar sights, Pulsar XP thermal sights, come with a stadiometric rangefinder. Okay. Even this one that's equipped with the laser unit still has the stadiometric rangefinder in the firmware, and it's very easily accessible by pressing the menu button and scrolling to that option. So a stadiometric rangefinder works by equating a spaced target indicator in the reticle to a known height object in the field, and using geometry to compute the estimated range. For example, let's say you're driving down the road in your car and you're looking at different stuff and you're like, oh man, I can totally pinch that car on my fingers. I wonder how far away it is. That's exactly what you do with the thermal sight, with the stadiometric rangefinder. All you would do is you pinch that target with your stadia lines there in the reticle, and then to the left on the screen, the sight displays dynamically the distance to 3 well-known object sizes, whether it be a small game animal like a rabbit, a medium game animal like some kind of hog, or a medium to large game animal like a deer, antelope, or elk, or something like that. The drawbacks, of course, to a stadiometric rangefinder are, well, one, you got to know what the object is that you're ranging. Okay, you got to know how big it is, because if you don't know how big it is, the system is only smart as your intel, right? If you don't know how big the object is, and you're pinching it in your hands, you don't know if it's a small hog close up or a large hog far away, right? Of course, you can use context clues, as it were, right? You can use your surroundings as benchmarks for that. However, one thing to keep in mind when using a thermal sight, your depth perception is compromised, as it is with most night vision devices. You can, with a monocular, see at night in complete darkness with a thermal sight. However, the field of view is somewhat compromised, because you cannot see other surrounding objects and make reference to them. So your depth perception is a little strange. And furthermore, if you're in poor thermal conditions, for example, if you're in a very wet environment, also an environment that contains objects that are all uniform temperature gradients due to some kind of phenomenon where the temperature's been hovering at let's say 50 degrees for 24 hours, you've had a really overcast rainy day, you might get some kind of thermal whiteout conditions or blackout conditions, depending if you're using white hot or black hot on the sight. However, you can still see your target. That's not the problem. You're still going to be able to identify your target with a thermal. However, because the view of your surroundings are compromised, you might not be able to make a good target determination with your stadiometric rangefinder. So, with the laser rangefinder, it kind of takes all the guesswork out of it, right? You can use this thing in complete darkness if you like. Just like any other rangefinder you've used for archery or rifle, you point the range-finding reticle at the target, hit the button to range, and the range and inclination is shown in the upper right side of your screen. One thing to note is that you have to activate the LRF function with that button to range, and it is not slaved to the reticle, so that you will not be using the laser range finding reticle at the same time you're using your targeting reticle. But for quick range estimation, quick, extremely accurate within a meter range estimation, it can't be beat. And to my knowledge, this is the only thermal weapon sight out here on the consumer market with a built-in laser rangefinder, and with a 17 micron core, 17 micron pixel pitch, really great. 640 by 480 resolution, really great. 50 millimeter objective lens to gather as much thermal radiation as you can for target acquisition. It's exceptional. It's a very exceptional product. It's, in my opinion, priced pretty reasonably for what you get. And I hope you've enjoyed this quick look. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this quick look of the features of the new Pulsar Trail LRF XP50 Thermal Sight. This sight was just released at SHOT Show 2018, so look for it to hit consumer hands around mid-year. If you would like to pre-order the sight, you can do that at the Pulsar North American website. You can do that at the Pulsar European site. You can even do that with local Pulsar dealers. Again, this is the first episode of J Outdoors, and I really look forward to bringing you folks additional content in the future, including gear reviews, like this one, firearm reviews, silencer reviews, all kinds of cool stuff, and even some field reviews with the products as well. So if you did enjoy this video, please click like on YouTube to show your support, and you can even subscribe to the channel to be notified of future content. Thanks again, I really appreciate it.